In 2010, more than 64,000 Americans ended up in the emergency room because of a single sleeping pill, zolpidem. You know it as Ambien. The FDA had to issue a public warning because people were waking up the next morning with enough of the drug still in their blood to impair driving. Sleepwalking, memory loss, falls, dependency, and in some cases, death. That is what a $94 billion industry sells you so you can get 7 hours of rest. A study published in BMJ Open tracked over 10,000 adults and found that people who took prescription sleeping pills were 4 times more likely to die during the study period than those who did not. 4 times. And the use of these drugs has tripled in the last 2 decades. On the island where I grew up, nobody takes sleeping pills. I have never seen one in a medicine cabinet in my life. The elders in my village fall asleep within minutes of lying down, sleep through the night, and wake up before the sun without an alarm. Many of them are in their 90s. Some have passed 100. Researchers have been studying their sleep for over 20 years, trying to understand how they do it. What they found costs nothing. It requires no prescription, and it is the reason the sleep industry has spent decades making sure you never hear about it. Sleep is not rest. That is the first thing most people get wrong. While you are unconscious, your brain is running the most critical maintenance cycle in your biology. It is flushing out toxic proteins that accumulate during the day, consolidating memories, repairing tissue, regulating hormones, and resetting your immune system. When you cut that process short, or when the quality of that process is poor, the damage is not immediate, it is cumulative, and it is devastating. A study from the University of Chicago found that adults who slept fewer than 6 hours a night for just 1 week showed gene expression changes in over 700 genes. 700 genes linked to inflammation, immune response, and stress. 1 week of bad sleep was enough to measurably alter how your DNA functioned. The National Institutes of Health has linked chronic sleep deprivation to heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, obesity, depression, and Alzheimer's. A paper published in Nature Reviews Neuroscience identified sleep as the single most effective thing a human being can do for brain health. Not exercise, not diet, sleep. And the CDC has classified insufficient sleep as a public health epidemic, estimating that 1 in 3 American adults does not get enough. Here is the part that should concern you the most. Your body does not adapt to sleep loss. You think it does. You feel like you have adjusted to 5 or 6 hours. You tell yourself you function fine. But cognitive testing shows otherwise. After 2 weeks of sleeping 6 hours a night, your reaction time, decision making, and memory are equivalent to someone who has been awake for 48 hours straight. The dangerous part is that you do not realize how impaired you are. Your self assessment of your own performance stays high while your actual performance falls off a cliff. 50 to 70 million Americans suffer from a sleep disorder, and the system's answer to every single one of them is the same: a pill. Take something, buy something, suppress your brain into unconsciousness for a few hours and do it again tomorrow night. That is not sleep. That is chemical sedation. And there is a difference your body understands, even if you do not. So the sleeping pill industry works on a simple principle. You cannot sleep, so we will shut your brain down for you. That is what these drugs do. Zolpidem, etopicolone, temazepam. They target GABA receptors in your brain and force sedation. They do not produce natural sleep. They produce something that looks like sleep on the outside but lacks the deep restorative stages your brain actually needs. You close your eyes, you lose consciousness. But the maintenance cycle I just described, the one that keeps you alive and functional, runs at a fraction of its capacity. The FDA recommends that the prescription sleeping pill use should be as short as possible. Their own guidelines say more than 10 nights increases the risk of dependency. 10 nights. Most people I have spoken to in America who take these drugs have been on them for months, some for years. And here is what happens when you try to stop. Rebound, insomnia. Your brain, which has been chemically forced into sedation every night, no longer knows how to fall asleep on its own. Anxiety, restlessness, agitation, nausea. In severe cases, seizures. The primary care companion for CNS disorders published a case study of a woman who experienced severe seizures after her zolpidem was suddenly discontinued. The drug that was supposed to help her sleep had rewired her brain to the point where stopping it became medically dangerous. The elderly are hit hardest. Seniors who take benzodiazepines for sleep face a 32% increased likelihood of developing dementia. Hospital patients on Ambien are 4 times more likely to fall, and these are the people being prescribed these drugs most frequently. 7% of Americans over 80 take prescription sleep aids. The most vulnerable population getting the most dangerous treatment. Meanwhile, the market keeps growing. The global sleep aid industry is worth $94 billion in 2026. That includes pills, supplements, devices, apps, weighted blankets, sleep tracking rings, melatonin gummies, an entire economy built on the fact that modern humans cannot do something that every other animal on earth does without assistance, and none of it addresses why you cannot sleep. It only addresses the symptom. You are still anxious. You are still overstimulated. You are still eating the wrong food at the wrong time and staring at a screen until midnight. The pill does not fix any of that. It just makes you unconscious, despite all of it. On my island, we do not have a word for insomnia. Not because it is a medical term we never learned, because it is a condition that barely exists among us. And the reason it barely exists has nothing to do with genetics or luck. It has to do with three specific things we do every single day that the sleep industry has no financial interest in you ever learning about. In the year 2000, researchers from the University of the Ryukyus conducted a study on 788 elderly people in Okinawa, aged 60 to 93. They measured the sleep quality, lifestyle habits, and physical activity using actigraphs, devices worn on the wrist that track movement and the sleep patterns around the clock for a full week. They split the participants into two groups, those with good sleep health and those with poor sleep health. Then they compared everything about their daily lives. The differences were not subtle. Three habits separated the groups so clearly that the researchers concluded the lifestyle occupied the most important position in the maintenance and improvement of sleep health. Not medication, not supplements, lifestyle. The first habit is the short nap. In Okinawa, almost every elder takes a nap after lunch, not a 2 hour collapse on the couch. A deliberate, short rest lasting no more than 30 minutes, taken between 1 and 3 in the afternoon. Western sleep advice has spent decades telling people that naps ruin nighttime sleep. The Okinawan data says the opposite. The elders who napped regularly slept better at night than those who did not. The researchers found that the nap discharged just enough sleep pressure to prevent the late afternoon drowsiness that leads to dozing off in the evening, which is the real killer of nighttime sleep quality. Dozing in front of the television at 7 p.m. is what destroys your sleep at 11. A controlled nap at 1 p.m. prevents that entirely. The second habit is evening movement, not exercise in the way Americans think of it, not a gym session or a run, a walk. The elders in the good sleep group walked or did light physical activity in the late afternoon or early evening at significantly higher rates than those who slept poorly. The researchers specifically noted that moderate exercise in the evening was one of the two most important factors in sleep quality. When they ran a 4-week intervention study, introducing short naps and evening walks to elderly participants who had sleep problems, nighttime wakefulness decreased significantly and sleep efficiency increased measurably within the first month. 4 weeks to fix what some of these people had been struggling with for years. No prescription, no side effects, just a nap and a walk. The third habit is the hardest one for Americans to replicate, and it is the one that makes everything else work. In Okinawa, we have a concept called ikigai. It translates roughly to the reason you wake up in the morning. It is not a career goal or a financial target. For my grandmother, it was her garden. For the old man down the road, it was the fishing nets he repaired every morning for the younger fishermen. For many elders, it is simply being needed by the people around them. The study from Ojimi found that the good sleep group had significantly higher participation in senior citizens clubs and scored higher on emotional adaptability scales. They were connected. They had a purpose. And the purpose, it turns out, is the most powerful sleep aid ever discovered because a person who knows why they are waking up tomorrow has no trouble falling asleep tonight. We also have moai, small circles of lifelong friends who meet regularly, share meals, support each other through illness and loss, and hold each other accountable. Chronic loneliness is associated with increased inflammation, disrupted hormone regulation, and elevated cortisol, all of which destroy sleep. The elders in Okinawa are almost never lonely. They are woven into a fabric of relationships that does not fray with age. That is not a supplement you can buy at a Walmart, but it is the foundation that makes the nap and the walk actually work. You cannot move to Okinawa. You probably cannot rebuild your entire social structure overnight, but you can start the two physical habits today and build the third over time. Here is exactly how. The nap. Set an alarm for 25 minutes. Not 45, not an hour, for 25 minutes. Lie down or recline between 1 and 3 in the afternoon. You do not need to fall fully asleep. Simply closing your eyes and resting is enough to discharge sleep pressure. If you work a traditional job, this can be done on a lunch break in your car, at your desk with your head down, or in any quiet space. The Japanese have a word for this. In a murai, the art of resting while present. Do not nap after 3 p.m. Do not nap longer than 30 minutes. Those two rules are the difference between a nap that helps your nighttime sleep and one that destroys it. The walk. Between 5 and 7 p.m., go outside and walk for 20 to 40 minutes. That is it. not a power walk, not a jog, a pace where you could hold a conversation without losing your breath. The timing matters more than the intensity. Evening movement does two things. It raises your core body temperature slightly, and when that temperature drops over the following 2 to 3 hours, it signals your brain that sleep is coming. It also burns off residual cortisol from the stress of the day. The Okinawan researchers measured this directly. Participants who walked in the evening fell asleep faster and woke up fewer times during the night. If it is raining or you can't get outside, any light movement walks, stretching, cleaning your house, slow body weight exercises. The point is to be physically active in the hours before your body begins winding down. The purpose. This is the one that takes longer but matters most. Ask yourself a question tonight before you go to bed. What am I looking forward to tomorrow? It does not have to be grand. It can be a meal you want to cook, a person you want to call, a project in your garage, a walk you want to take in a place you have not been. In Okinawa, the elders who slept best were the ones who had something pulling them into the next day. Start small. Volunteer somewhere once a week. Join a group that meets regularly. Reconnect with someone you have not spoken to in months. Build one relationship that is not transactional. The sleep will follow because your brain stops fighting the night when it trusts that the morning is worth getting to. Here is what the research says you should expect. The intervention study at the University of the Ryukyus showed measurable improvement in sleep quality within 4 weeks, not 4 months. 4 weeks of consistent short naps and evening walks. Participants fell asleep faster, woke up fewer times during the night, and reported better mental health as a direct result of better sleep. No dependency, no rebound insomnia, no withdrawal symptoms. Just your body remembering how to do what it was designed to do before a $94 billion industry convinced you it needed help. I am not telling you to flush your sleeping pills down the toilet tonight. If you have been on them for a long time, stopping suddenly can be dangerous. Talk to your doctor about tapering off. What I am telling you is that the solution to your sleep problem was never in a bottle. It was in how you spend your afternoon, how you move your body before sunset, and whether you have a reason to open your eyes in the morning. My grandfather slept on a tatami mat with the windows open his entire life. He never owned a mattress topper, never downloaded a sleep app, never chewed a melatonin gummy. He napped after lunch, walked to the harbor in the evening, and woke up every morning at 5 because the fish did not wait. He did this until he was 97, not because he was disciplined, because it was just how life worked on our island before someone decided there was money to be made in keeping you awake. The sleep industry does not want you to take a nap. It does not want you to go for a walk. It does not want you to find a reason to get up tomorrow. Because a person who does those three things does not need their product. And a person who does not need their product costs them $94 billion a year. Drop your bedtime in the comments and tell me how many hours you are actually sleeping. And tell me if you have ever taken a sleeping pill and what happened when you tried to stop. I want to hear those stories because they matter more than any clinical trial. Next video, I am going to show you the $2 Okinawan soup that repairs your gut in weeks. Gastroenterologists cannot explain why our digestive disease rates are a fraction of yours. I can, and I will show you exactly how to make it